In the state of Indiana, schools have had to cut extracurricular activities such as foreign language and sports to fund more important academic activities. Are academics more important than everything else? What about the girl that wants to be an Olympic swimmer, or the boy that wants to be a famous violinist? Sure, a practical job seems more important, but what about the job you love? The federal government faces a tough decision when looking at all the factors and the current financial crisis. To cut or not to cut, that is the question. How can schools offer the best educational opportunities with the current financial crisis?
You will see things that are really very characteristic of your individual states. You know, 23,000 kids being past third grade to fourth grade who can't read, 25,000 dropouts. And my point with this is we can't do one thing and fix this mess. One fix. We can sit here all day and say more charter schools. That's not going to fix that. We can say improving teacher quality all by itself. That's not going to fix that. We can say, you know, a growth model. It's not going to fix that. So we are of the mind that to fix Indiana's mess, you have to have a comprehensive education reform package. It is not one thing. If you're not going to go after four pillars, 3 or 4 pillars, which we are in this state, in our legislative session coming up, you're not going to go after 4 structural issues, 3 or 4 that really address the cornerstones of that mess. You will not clean up that mess in your state.
The state has had to cut over $300 million to public education funding. And it's going to be a tough next 2 years. The state's legislature, they're adopting a 2-year state budget. And so school districts probably cannot expect any additional money for the next 2 years. So they're really going to have to try to find a way of being more efficient and effective in how they spend taxpayer dollars. So holding the line on spending, making sure they invest taxpayer dollars most efficiently in things that work, high quality teachers, teacher compensation, effective educational programs that have a track record for success, and really focusing on the things that have the biggest impact.
In the last 2 years, the state of Indiana has faced some of the most difficult financial situations we've seen in recent memory as it pertains to education. Yet, test scores have been up 4 to 6%, graduation rates are up, advanced placement test participation is up. So many of our indicators show us that even in the most difficult of financial times, by increasing expectations, we can improve student performance. So the fact is, high expectations don't cost anything, and we have shown that it's not necessarily more money that will drive academic performance in our state.
The crisis is only a crisis because the political leadership chose to cut education rather than other state services or support activities. If education was truly the most important government function, then there would never be a crisis in education.
From the federal perspective, there aren't enough dollars to go around to fund all of the needs. And on the special ed side of things, the amount of money that is required to fund all of the special education programs, the federal government funds at about 40%. But that means the local district has to pick up the other 60%. So does the federal government do enough? No. Can they do more? Not with the amount of money that they have available to them.
Conflicting ideas between what to cut and what not to cut result in no results whatsoever to what needs to be done to fix this financial mess.
Well, absolutely. Extracurricular activities, whether they're athletic activities, band, choir, social activities, or clubs, need to be maintained in schools. They do help enrich the learning environment. For some students, it's what really engages the student in the school, whether it's middle school, high school, or elementary school. It's what they associate with at school. It's something they may enjoy the most. Some kids who don't do necessarily well in the core subject areas may find that they do quite well in performing arts or fine arts or in athletics. So
he used as an example, if the purpose of education was to create citizens to participate in a democratic society, then someone might say, well, how does athletics contribute to that purpose? How does music contribute to that purpose? How does art? How does science? How does social studies? You would be able to go through all of the activities and determine what each of them is contributing to accomplishing the purpose. That's how you set priorities when it's needed.
In some communities, some activities may be more or less important to those communities than other activities are to other communities. So I think we have to begin to have those types of discussions so that we identify how important are athletics, how important are the arts, how important are foreign languages, where are they in terms of our core mission, activities related to our core mission, and activities indirectly related to our core mission.
Stand by. BTV going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Cut! I'm sorry, kids, but this program is being cut. Due to budget cuts, we are eliminating all classes and all programs that do not have a direct impact on test scores. Turn those computers off. You need to leave.
With schools all over the nation cutting classes due to insufficient funds, they seek more money from organizations and from the federal government. Race to the Top is an act by the government to provide a large amount of money to schools who meet the high standards that is needed. What if the federal government gave tax breaks to organizations that are able to provide money for schools?
What they said was this: we're going to give you a pool of money, and that pool of money is focused on standards and assessment, longitudinal data, turning around our lowest performing schools, and teacher quality. So those were 4 very important education issues that we were going to have money for. So the very strength of Race to the Top is it was one of our first efforts that said, here are very important issues, and here is money to go toward those important issues.
The point is, the measuring stick that's the cornerstone of the Race to the Top is flawed, and the reasoning to use that standardized test as the measuring stick is inappropriate.